upbringing, could they have done anything for you to not have pursued this career? Your parents?
Yes, I don't blame it anybody. It's all mine. But my father was an alcoholic.
Okay.
And we lived in a nice white house on a pretty big farm. But he was drunk. And he loved us, and nothing wrong with him. He was just a gentleman. But my poor mother worked in a sewing factory and dug like crazy in the dirt and helped us make a living. And I think if he had put his arm around me and said, son, you're smart. Why don't you be this or that, or a lawyer or a doctor or whatever, I would have perked right up, because whatever he said, I like to do it. But he said, Roger's the best damn hog catcher in the county. Well, I was sure I was. I'd wrestle a bull down or ride a bucking horse. And, he laughed about that, and I liked it. So I just wondered, my daughter's a doctor, and I encouraged her, study a lesson. Go for something. You can do it. So I think.
But he never beat you up. He never did anything.
No
He wasn't like he was abusive. He just drank.
He was a wonderful human being. If I talked about him now, I'd cry.
But you were seeking his approval. Meaning,
Yeah,
if he told you to do something positive in your life, you would have done that.
Oh yes, of course. I would have been.
The power of a father, man.
Yeah.
The power of a father. Well, can you go a little bit more deeper on that? The power of a father on a son. Why is that role so important?
What it is. It's inbred in us what our fathers and mothers think of us. It really is, particularly boys with their father. I can remember things that he did, and it just warmed my heart. When I was about 5 or 6 years old, I'd follow him, and we had 2 bird dogs, and he would shoot the quail with the double-barrel shotgun, and they'd point them, and as they'd fly, pow, pow, and the birds would feather would fall, and the dogs would get them and come here, and then I'd say, Daddy, can I shoot that gun, And he says, do you really want to shoot this 12-gauge shotgun? I just little. Yeah, I want to shoot it. So he puts it over a stump, and he gets behind me real close and holds me, and he puts it up in my shoulder, and he pointed at that tree, and I pull that trigger, and the bark flies off of that pine tree. Man, I could have walked on the air. I was so big. Stuff like that. It just...
You remember that vividly?
Vividly. Mm-hmm. I remember me out in the yard, and I'm throwing a butcher knife up at the leather-winged bats. I think I'm going to hit them because they'll dive towards you. They're blind, and they go away. And I see him coming down the road with his leather coat on and a double-barrel shotgun over, and his 2 big rabbits hanging in. I run all the way out and meet him. Can I carry one? And I have to hold it up like this, and the rabbit's hair. You just remember things like that. And then for him being drunk, if he would have been carried on with that, what would I have been? I would have never went to prison, but it's certainly not his fault. It's mine. My brother didn't go to prison. My sisters didn't. So
you don't put any of the onus. By the way, what month's your birthday?
January the 26th.
Aquarius.
Uh-huh. Wow. And then how about your dad?
April.
April?
Uh-huh.
Pat, this is something that you constantly are kind of bringing up. The role of the father, the role that you play with your kids, the important role that your father has played in your life.
Yeah.
Something that even when Roger over here is talking about his dad, this is something that interests you greatly. It's like he said, he's going to get emotional about this. Even with Rick Macy, we talked about the role of a coach and the role of a parent and the role of a father. What is it about? Other than the obvious of obviously your parents are important. Why is this something you keep bringing on, harping about?
Yeah, I just think we're trying to fix. You're getting to the product late to fix it. I don't know how to describe that. Like we're trying to fix the product after it's already been broken for 18 years.
Amen.
Instead, let's work on the most important example and, face of what that product is looking up to and who is emotionally. Listen, I have a lot of influence. Okay, so I went to a wedding, with this one of our guys, George's wedding. And his dad and I, we've had a lot of good battles back and forth, a lot of them over the years. His dad was a man's man, just like he was a guy, Cuban guy, tough guy, confident, swagger, walks in, not afraid. I took him to Kentucky Derby one time, and you would have thought he owned the Derby. That's how he was. And this was like 10 years ago when I took him to the Derby, and 11 years ago when I took him to the Derby. But he would be like, why are you making my son do this? You're making him drive from Palmdale to this. And we would get into it. I'm like, listen. I'm not trying to do anything bad to your son. trying to help your son be a man and a leader. Let me do my part. Right? And son George is a quality guy, very quality guy, right? Smart guy, very successful. He runs a $30 million a year business with us right now. Does very well for himself. But he wanted to win for his dad, right? And his dad comes up to me to the wedding in November when he got married. He got married, I think, November 13 or something like that. I'm in LA. Beautiful wedding. Small wedding, but a beautiful wedding. And my dad goes, I got to talk to you, Pat. I got to talk to him. We go in the corner. Says, hey, listen to me. You need to know this. You need to hear from me because there's only one man that can tell you this. I said, what's that? He says, my son's had two fathers, me and you. We've raised this boy together. I got him in the first half. You got him in the second half. But it's you and I. And he's crying. I'm crying. My body's got chills all over the, I'm feeling it right now. But a boy wants to make his dad and his mom proud. And some of that shit breaks and I don't know. So yeah, to me, I would much rather train the trainers. I would much rather get the parents. I would much rather get the fathers than we get them at this point of the game. It's too late.
Absolutely.
It's too late. What are we going to do in here at this point? So we screwed the whole thing up way too late.
Well, I'll tell you how to do it. From starting off, family planning is a great part of the education. Did you know that there's 500,000 children in foster care, and I don't know how many in orphanages, and millions aborted every year? But those children are unwanted and unloved, and they wind up there. A great portion of them don't know who their parents are, don't know my mama didn't want me, and I think I told this before. My daughter's a doctor, and she delivered a baby to a 10-year-old child. What in the world? I mean, what 4 or 5 generations in the visiting room, all on welfare. And I say that a bird builds a nest before she lays an egg. Not so human beings. And where the children are rather more scarce, they're wanted and they're loved and they're taken care of and nurtured. And that's what needs to be done.
The 4 things I tell my kids is lead, respect, improve, love. Yeah. And I don't know a listen, everybody talks about it. It's not like, but it's not like the way you sell it. I don't think the power of love, man. That love is a very, very challenging thing. Unfortunately, we had Paul Manafort here last week. I don't know if you know who Paul Manafort is. Paul Manafort went to jail. Trump, that whole situation as a lobbyist.
Trump's campaign.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of lobbyists at all. And I told him I'm not a fan of lobbyists on what these guys do, right? It's a big business model. You make a lot of money. But then he said something. He says, what are you going to do? Okay, don't have lobbyists. The other side's going to have lobbyists. So don't go and have them. So now what are you going to do? And you're cornered. So, you know what? We're not going to use tanks. But they're going to use tanks. Okay, let's get a couple tanks, guys. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
Hey, they're going to use rocket launchers. No, that's not our policy. No, we got to get rocket launchers. Guys, let's go buy some rocket launchers, right? So eventually, to go against an enemy that's doing that, you try to use love as much as possible, but some people they're playing by different rules than you. So you as a human being are constantly conflicted to say, what should we use to handle this crisis, okay? Should we handle it, just let it go and don't worry about it? Well, then if you let it go and the market gets a reputation of you just let things go, then they're going to come in like vultures, take advantage of you constantly. Then what do you do? And maybe that's not the responsibility of everybody. Maybe that is the responsibility of the parents to impose that love and respect and strength and confidence on the right values and principles and hoping the kids are going to pick it up and do something with it. And you still got to risk because at the end of the day, I think the kids got to do what they got to do. There's a lot of kids that were raised to great parents that did some dumb shit. They did some stupid things. So a part of the onus is going to be on them as well. You can do everything right and still screw it up because you are not 7.5 billion people around your kids and you're not around them 100% of the time. You only around them for a few hours or minutes or sometimes they're gone away from you when they're adults. But yeah, I think, Adam, to go back to it, man, I think somehow, some way, as much as we are doing what we're doing with parents, with kids, I think there's got to be some kind of a parents once a week, once a month course teaching something. I don't know, because if you do it and they do it, the kids feel it. If you pick something up and somebody tells you, here's how I raise my kids, and you do it, your kid is going to be the beneficiary of what you picked up from another person that taught it to you. I think we're not spending enough time teaching parents. I want to keep saying this. I think we're not spending enough time teaching parents. But I think, parents are also starting to realize a few different things with all the stuff that's going on, Disney, Netflix, politics, all this mess that's going on. Parents are starting to realize I have to be more involved. There's 4 things we came up with today. One of them is they're going to start putting their kids in more private schools because right values and principles are necessary. Number 2 is homeschooling is going to increase. Number 3 is they're going to relocate to different places. Could be a state. They're going to relocate to a different place. And number 4, I'm going to keep saying this to you, and I'm not even in the business. I'm telling you right now, you're going to see more parents putting kids in churches, some kind of additional, like MMA. My kids go to the bar here in Fort Lauderdale, and I got to tell you, they're sitting there teaching them discipline. That's not how you do this. You respect each other. You do this. You have to put your kids in communities right now that are teaching the right values and principles, whether it's martial arts, whether it's church, whether it's sports, whether it's anything. Because it's almost as if there's a lot of people that are also confusing kids nowadays, where parenting matters and supporting cast matters.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.